The board has authorized legal counsel and the executive director, Dr. Cleveland, to prepare a response to this request, which will be subject to final approval by the general board.
All right, thank you. Moving on to the next item on our agenda first. In the case of Falosu Fakarili, motion for continuance.
Yes, ma'am, and there have been multiple requests. This one is my request as complaint counsel. This is the oldest active case that we still have on our books. Candidly, I feel that it is in the interest of fundamental fairness. We need to review this case from top to bottom and make a decision whether an amendment to the charges, any amendments should be made before it's will be ready for more consideration. So I ask that you continue this to allow us to do that review.
Okay. Is there a motion?
How many continuances is this? It may be, it's 5 or 6.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, thank you. Motion carries. Next, and hearing in the case of Dr. Feinzimmer.
This is a second motion for continuance. Again, this was essentially agreed. We're still in discovery. We anticipate this will go to hearings in May. Dr. Feinzimmer has a strong legal opinion. I believe Mr. Philip Chapman is his local counsel. He also has out-of-state attorneys. We anticipate this will be potentially a lengthy hearing in the May meeting. So I request that there be a continuous to the May meeting and to allow both sides to properly prepare.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you, motion carries. Next, hearing in the case of Trung Nam Nguyen.
Yes, ma'am. This is a second motion for continuance because this is a joint motion. We are in negotiations with Dr. Nguyen and his counsel. They're attempting to resolve this so that there's no need for a full evidentiary hearing before the board. We think there is a realistic possibility of success, and so therefore request this to continue to the May meeting, at which time, once acceptable, we'll go forward to the board.
Okay,
So moved.
is there a second?
Second, I second the.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you, motion carries. Next, hearing in the case of Dr. James Holzhauer.
This is now a presentation of a consent order. Dr. Holzhauer and his counsel are here. Dr. Holzhauer is here to answer questions. So if we can have just a moment to get squared away.
Sorry, I jumped.
For the board members, it's tab 14.
14.
Yeah, if you're using the paper, if you're electronic, you can
You got
use
it.
your bookmark. Yeah, use your bookmark.
Really?
Mhm.
Aren't we?
No, it would be that.
Yeah.
So 6 years. That's my second. Yeah. That it was advanced. So if you're looking at just the straight agenda from the very beginning, you hit the agenda item, it scrolls you right down to that. You're already there, but next time you need to click it. Uh-huh.
Would you like to call it?
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Oh, wait, is this the same as the one we already have?
It's on,
It should be in.
Is this different?
it's on,
Oh, what if I don't need it? Okay, thank you.
You've got
it's,
what's being distributed, a copy of the consent order with the summons on the
See?
day, which is the charges. Copies of our letter from our expert. Our plan, if you're okay with it, is I'll make a short, summary of the statement. I'll also this in the record. I'm just gonna make a short open statement. Then we'll have Dr. Holzhauer sworn. Hopefully.
Oh, is that document that's being circulated different from the one we have in the binder, or is it the
It
same?
should not be.
Okay, I just, all the trees.
This was, I understand, that's why we don't have 15 copies. of
It's
it.
okay. I just wanted to make sure that if it was something new that we needed to consider, I wanted to make sure that everybody knew that so that they could, I just want him to have all of his information submitted.
There's 2,000 pages of record, so we didn't want to give
No.
that.
But I just didn't want to.
Consent order request for approval, consent order by, Dr. James L. Holzhauer, MD. You have copies of the consent order. I believe that the materials, the extra handouts that we just gave you, those are the same thing that are in the book. There should be at least one, a copy of the consent order, a copy of the summons and affidavit, which is a formal charge against Dr. Holzhauer. A letter from our expert. And also, there is a letter from Walmart. Just to briefly summarize, and Dr. Holzhauer's attorney is going to make a brief opening statement. The charges relate to improper prescribing of controlled substances. That's the best way that I can summarize. The basic terms of the consent order. The terms, first of all, for the past continuances, where that Dr. Holzhauer had to agree, sign an agreement not to prescribe controlled substances or certified medical cannabis in order to receive the last two continuances. Primary terms of the consent order is that Dr. Holzhauer is relinquishing his authority and agreeing not to prescribe controlled substances of any kind, agreeing not to certify patients for medical cannabis, and agreeing to surrender his DEA knowledge. I believe there's also a CME requirement in the consent order. Those are primary terms. Dr. Holzhauer is asking the board to accept this consent order to resolve the charges against him and to prevent the need for a
Good morning, I'm Mike Myers. Also, my partner, Ed Johnson, represents Dr. Holzhauer, he couldn't be here today. I just wanted to say that Dr. Holzhauer's looked at the charges in detail. He understands the gravity of the charges, accepts full responsibility for them. He appreciates the board's consideration of those.
I would ask Dr. Holzhauer to sworn.
court order there is one swear you in.
You move the mic wherever you need to. Dr. Holzhauer, as your counsel stated in this opening, you have reviewed the charges against you carefully. I have. You understand that substance abuse charges is improper, inappropriate prescribing of controlled substances, correct? I do. And in the consent order, you are, acknowledging, that those charges are accurate and violations of public order.
And
Dr. Holzhauer, if you could, I just want to, briefly go through the primary, provisions of the consent order. First, that you will attend and successfully complete a continuing medical education. It says courses that's titled in the area of record keeping. You agree with that term?
I do.
Second, that you shall not prescribe, administer, or dispense in any manner, either directly or indirectly, any controlled substance or any other prescription medications reported to the Mississippi Prescription Monitoring Program, or certify any patients for the use of medical cannabis, and shall surrender his U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration Controlled Substance registration to the DEA in 30 days, the date this consent order is accepted by the board. Licensee shall not appear before the board to request lifting this restriction for a period of not less than a year. You agree with that?
I do.
Three, the standard requirement that you obey all federal, state, and local laws, and all rules and regulations. You agree to that requirement?
I acknowledge, yes.
Okay. Number four is that you shall reimburse the board for all costs incurred in relation to the pending matter, not to exceed $10,000. That's the statutory limit. And you may not be aware of this, but I know that your counsel is. The board will submit to you an invoice for the appropriate costs after the board approves it, and you'll be given a time for payment. Accept that.
Yes.
Dr. Holzhauer, I know as the board looks through the charges, these are serious prescribing charges. And you said that you're aware of that. In the materials the board has, there's a letter to Walmart informing you that your prescription for controlled substances will no longer be filled. You remember that document?
Yes.
And the affidavit speaks to a complaint from a pharmacist, which was, I believe, the first complaint we received. I would like to know that the board has also received complaints from patients and other practitioners in addition to the complaint from the pharmacist. Right? So this was a problem that was recognized by multiple members of the medical community. Were you aware of that?
Not entirely, no.
Do you have anything that you would like to say? The board will have the opportunity to ask you questions and things about you. Do you have anything else that you'd like to tell the board as to why you're asking them to accept this consent order?
I'm a very soft-hearted person. I was ill-prepared and ill-equipped to make proper decisions about prescribing these medicines. I felt pressured by the patients to help them. I can see that in retrospect that I should have simply turned them away. I acknowledge that my records are inadequate and that my actions do not meet the current standards for prescribing. I only regret that I'm having problems with the board and wish to do whatever it takes to get back into the good graces of the board with whatever actions are prescribed.
I tell you.
Any questions from any members of the board for this witness?
Dr. Holzhauer, what is your current practice? Could you tell us about your current practice and your plans for your practice?
I'm in Macon. I'm the only physician in that county, and I run about a 30-hour week primary care practice.
Primarily, like family medicine.
Family medicine, high blood pressure, diabetes, that sort of thing.
You see children.
Only teenagers and above.
And about how many patients would you see in
In a day, about 10.
Are you in a solo practice?
I am.
You have any, you don't have, you're not collaborating with any, nurse practitioners or
I
anybody?
do not.
Did you, and you never did, did you?
There is, there is a nurse practitioner in town and I do work with her sometimes. And I do refer patients to the local hospital sometimes, but I don't have privileges at the hospital.
Any other questions, guys? Dr. Holzhauer, you said something that really stuck out to me about just being a soft-hearted person. And I think sometimes one of the more difficult things for those of us who are compassionate folks who care about patients and who want to see our patients happy is recognizing that sometimes the most compassionate answer is no. And it sounds like you figured that out. But
Yes, ma'am, I regret that.
but I would just say, don't regret being a kind-hearted person, because that is
Thank you.
definitely, that's still
I'm
needed.
capable of learning lessons and
Yeah,
I
but
acknowledge my mistakes.
I do want, I just hope that it doesn't change your compassion toward patients, because patients still very much need and deserve compassionate physicians. And I think that, learning how to set those boundaries is an important lesson, but I hope that it doesn't change your heart toward your patient.
Thank you for those kind words.
All right, guys.
Doctor, I'm David McCormick. I'm an internal medicine physician, so practice in which is, what's your training?
In medical training, went to University of Arkansas for medical sciences. To get my MD, I did an internship at Baptist Hospital in Little Rock and did a 4-year residency in obstetrics and gynecology at the University of Tennessee in Memphis.
How long did you practice obstetrics and gynecology?
Until from 1986 till 2018.
Decision just to kind of scale down to do primary care at the level that you're doing.
The hospital privileges are where we grown. And I've always been done primary care. I'm always trying to take care of all my patients' needs, whether they're hypertension or diabetes or arthritis. So it was a very easy transition for me to do an office practice.
Are you still providing some women's health, some basic like women's health care?
Pap smears, birth control kits and stuff like that. Yes, ma'am.
Because we still need people who do that. All right. Any other questions for Dr. Holzhauer?
Right, if not, the board can go into executive session if needed, or,
I'm willing to entertain a motion at this time.
to go into closed session to determine whether grounds exist to go into executive session to deliberate. on
Or-
this matter.
Yeah, we can either,
Okay, okay.
whichever what's your pleasure? Waiting for the motion.
I presume that the team feels like you saved practice. We do, under these guidelines.
Provision.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
So
I'll make the motion to accept.
motion to accept, is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any further discussion on this? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. Good luck to you, Dr. Holzhauer.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your time today.
All right, moving on to the next item on our agenda, hearing in the case of Dr. Edward Moak.
Yes, ma'am. Dr. Mike is here. Good. Got some exhibits to distribute to the board. And I want to make sure that paralegal keeps me straight. One of these is redacted. You have to pick out that. I probably did. Well, that was too easy. Ms. McKinley is giving a redacted copy of the exhibits to the court reporter. The board is being given unredacted copies.
Thank you.
And if it please the board, I'll go ahead with my opening.
It appears he's not represented by counsel, so if you want to proceed. Yeah. Mhm.
You want to ask?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, do you have it?
Can do it.
Okay, yes.
Dr. Mo, first of all, would you please, be someone you have just based on. Separate on your, Dr. Mo, I just have a few questions to ask you, okay? You're not accompanied by counsel today, that's right? Are you represented by an attorney in connection with these proceedings? No. Okay, you understand, that you have the right to an attorney? I do. And may I ask you a question? Yes, ma'am, you can have.
Yes, sir.
Whoever. Is it the board's recommendation that I shouldn't represent my counsel?
They don't have a recommendation. We just wanted to know whether or not, good morning, I'm Kristen Love, and I'm the designated hearing officer for this matter. And so, because you're not represented by counsel, we need to, hear on the record that you wish to proceed today with this hearing without counsel representation. If you would like to see counsel representation, represent you in this matter, then you can ask for a continuance to give you an opportunity to, hire counsel. But this right now is just putting on the record that you wish to proceed today without counsel representation, understanding the charges that are pending against you, understanding you have a right to counsel, understanding you have a right to have witnesses testify on your behalf, and subpoenas issued in support of your defense against the charges pending against you. So the question is, would you like to proceed without counsel representation, understanding all of that?
This being my first instance of appearing before you guys as a board and having heard the previous presentations, it occurs to me that perhaps I probably should have a council representative. I think I have a slightly different idea of how this would proceed.
Mhm.
It now occurs to me I probably should have at least a council representative. That's not going to create a major hardship for the board. I think I now would like to proceed that way.
All right, so it sounds like you have requested a continuance to give you an opportunity to seek council representation, legal representation.
Based upon my witnessing events that are late this morning, I would.
I understand. And so now I'm gonna give the board's attorney, Mr. Barnes, an opportunity to respond to your motion.
I had to give brief status. This started as a referral to the examining committee. The examining committee issued an interim report back in December to the executive director. Dr. Mo had not fulfilled all the requirements and completed all the evaluations the examining committee required of him. Therefore, the examining committee did not make a determination recommendation to the board concerning his fitness to return to practice. However, strike that. Upon receipt of that report, the executive director issued a temporary suspension without hearing. That suspension has remained in place. And when we continue this in January due to a health problem with Dr. Mose, I asked and the board agreed that suspension should remain in place. So if a continuance is granted, I request that the suspension order issued by Dr. Cleveland remain in effect until this matter is resolved, because the examining committee still does not have all the information it needs. And the whole point of this hearing is to ask the board to suspend Dr. Mose until the examining committee is able to fill its duties. I would ask that will not object to the continuance on condition that the suspension remains.
Any response to that, Dr. Smoke?
I wholeheartedly agree with the recommendation of the council.
Yes, all right. So,
So now I guess we just need so we have a request for continuance. So is there a motion?
I'll make a motion for continuance. Dr. Mo's license with condition that his license still be suspended until all issues at hand are addressed.
So there is a motion. Is there a second? So the motion is that to approve the request for continuance and keeping the temporary suspension in place until we get to a point of resolution in this matter. Okay, second for that? All right. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Thank you. Thanks, Dr. Mo.
Okay. Yes. That's good. Thank you.
All right. All right, so then, moving on with the agenda, next is the hearing in the case of Dr. Dominic Trinka.
okay. Please.
Do I need to, yeah, because I don't need a hard copy. Wait, well, I'm good with, yeah. Or what I got already.
Please, board. We're here today on Dr. Trinka's petition for an unrestricted medical license. The petition that you see there that's page number 1 is the petition that Dr. Trinka filed in 2022. At that time, he had not completed all of the requirements of the previous board order. And the board said, Dr. Trinka, please come back after you completed the requirement. At this time, I would like to offer the documents based on the MSP 1 through MSP 67 as a joint exhibit for the record without objection. And I apologize, I failed to introduce Dr. Trinka and his attorney, Philip Chapman, are here today. And Dr. Trinka, as I understand, has not filed an additional written petition. But his attorney is here. Dr. D will provide a short opening statement, if my understanding is his plan. And then we'll call Dr. Trinka. They will present their petition. So I would turn over the floor with your permission, Mr. Chapman.
Yes, you may proceed.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
As Paul said, we are here today requesting a unrestricted license for Dr. Trinka. He has a fairly lengthy history with the oil imperial several times. I'll point out just a few things before I get him on the stand. Let me tell you a little bit about why we're here, but initially he had, or not initially, we'll back up a little bit, back to May 20th, 2021, Dr. Trinka's license was reinstated by the board at that time with some restrictions. Those restrictions included a 6-month period where he was required to be under direct observation of a preceptor. And also, notwithstanding that 6-month period of time, he was also required to have a chaperone present during the encounter with a female patient and was not to perform pelvic or breast exams on female patients. Subsequently, after that, he did complete his 6-month direct observation preceptor. On May 19th, 22, the board entered another order, which found that he had been in compliance with the May 2021 order, and it lifted the restriction requiring the preceptor. They're allowed to continue on with this CPEP program. Nothing else was addressed in that order. We've not had any subsequent orders since then. So at this point in time, as we are under the understanding, the only restrictions still on his license at this point are the no breast or pelvic exams, the requirement for a chaperone. What we're asking today is he has now completed his CPEP program. As the board will see in these exhibits, we have the final report from CPEP. We have a letter from Acumen, who he's been working with throughout the time that he did their longitudinal program at some point during this period as well. And several letters from the CEO of Delta Health Center, where he's been working, the Human Resources Director from Delta Health, and both of his preceptors that he had during this time, all of which are giving him glowing praise. Some of which have even gone as far as saying that he's been a godsend to them. Those type of things we'll look at. But he has acted in all of their accounts, so a high level of professionalism, utmost respect and empathy for his patients, and the highest standards of medical care. During his CPEP program, there also was an issue, or not an issue, there was one of the items in that was that at some point in the fall of 2022, several of the patients he saw were giving questionnaires asking how he treated them. All of those had highly positive marks. So at this point, where we are is we're still looking at those last 2 items. And the reason he's asking for that, basically what we really want is, Dr. Trinka has grown through this experience. I can tell you all about that. He realizes the need now, and that probably is a best practice to have a chaperone at all times for his female encounters. He's perfectly willing to continue that going forward in his practice. And as to the breast and pelvic exams, he does not anticipate doing many of those. It's a rarity, and he does what he does in general family practice. But he would like the ability to do so if required on a problem-based exam. Again, still under a chaperone, would just like that restriction lifted, really more than anything for credentialing purposes. He's wanting to make sure that he's going to be able to get re-credentialed by Medicaid, other payors, other entities that do that. So that he is allowed to continue his practice in the Delta. Again, like I said, he practices at Delta Health Center, which is a federally qualified rural health entity there in the Delta, where obviously they still need plenty of doctors, plenty of folks who can do all the things that he can do. That is really what we're asking for, is just an order that states that his license is fully unrestricted. We understand the board may have some concerns. He's here to answer any questions you may have about what he intends to do moving forward, what he's done so far. But other than that, that is what we're asking. here today. And so with that, I would like to call Dr. Trent to stand, let him tell you all about where he's been.
Attorney General. You got it.
Trent, I want you to tell someone how you got it.
And I want to thank you all for allowing me to, come before you today and, I don't know. And also for the opportunity to, practice medicine again. You know, I've had a long road and, I guess like in 2015, I'm a pharmacist, but I don't practice pharmacy, but I have a license, but I entered their monitoring program in 2015 and I finished in 2020 and in 2017, I entered into a provisional contract with MPHP and I finished that in 2021. So for about 3 years, 2 or 3 years, I was in 2 monitoring programs and I was able to complete that. Then I went to Acumen for, I guess, 8 weeks and then continued in the longitudinal program for a year. And then I went to CPAP and I was prescribed an educational program and I picked that up at, Delta Health Center. It was just, a godsend to me for, taking me. So I completed that program in November. And yeah, so I practice general medicine at the health center, fairly qualified health center. And basically what I do is I take walk-in patients, I manage chronic conditions, and I do wellness examinations. But my wellness examinations don't include breast and pelvis because we have a GYN service. But I would like to request, and I use chaperones for all female patients, and I understand, I get it that, the primary purpose of the board and physician is to protect patients, And I understand that completely, and I continue to continue doing that. All patients take chaperone, and but lately credentialing committees have become very sensitive to approving physicians with restrictions. I've had Medicaid for the past 2 years, 2.5 years, but last week they denied my application for recertification. And, based on these, I imagine based on these circumstances, and but they're still reviewing it, and I feel that the decision that's made today will really determine whether I'm approved. And if I'm not approved, then everything else falls Medicare and I don't believe I'll be able to practice in where I am right now. And I even checked with the Vital Core, with the prison system, and I spoke with the medical director, and he said Vital Core is managing their medical needs, and they are not credentialing new hirees with restrictions. So for that reason, primarily, I'd like to be able to perform this focus exams, problem focus patients. Breast, pelvic needed, but I really don't do those. I mean, past 2.5 years, I've maybe had one incident, one episode where that came up. So I don't anticipate that I'll do those. But I'd like to be able to have the privilege so that I can tell credential committees that I'm be able to do so. And basically through all of this, some of the things that I've taken home, but of course, it's just knowing your journey. It's protect patients and follow the rules. I mean, able to do that. Follow the rules is an important thing. And, practice ethically, professionally, and to highest standard that I can. And, so, the board can grant me this, I'd like to demonstrate to the board that I can continue to do this. And, I can be, I will be successful. That's basically.
Now, you're not looking to do like an OBGYN practice,
No,
still use family walk-in to function.
right.
And you said you had maybe, you were talking about the problem post exam, the breast exams. So you maybe had one episode in the last 2 or 3 years, right? Is that something you had to refer out then for the came in?
Yes, I just, yes,
So you don't, so you anticipate those numbers staying about the same?
yes,
You're looking to stay at Delta Health Center?
yes.
Now you said that the Medicaid is still reviewing you though,
Yes,
so we feel like that if we get something today that restricts your license, they may change their mind. soon.
I would hope so.
How much longer do you think you'll have to practice?
How much
How much longer do you continue?
Basically as long as I can.
And I guess one of the things, Medicaid being the one that's currently on the table, I guess, is Medicaid a large portion of your practice?
Yes.
I think that's all I have, unless the board has some questions.
Cross-examination?
I do not have any questions, I tell you.
Any questions from the board for this?
Dr. Dodson.
Your journey has been long and winding, and during the course of the journey, you've had significant growth. And now you present to an asking for the start. Actually. Have you thought about what that looks like? How you will maintain a practice without that structure? And then I have a second part too, is that in doing so, have you identified key stressors, triggers that cause you to fall out of favor with guidelines, rules, and that sort of thing? And what practices will you put in place to ensure that that will.
Yes, well, guardrails, I think the first part was about guardrails, and I'm practicing, I don't, as you know, I don't have a solo practice, so I've, part of a group. And the group serves as a guardrail. And they're all aware of my situation. So, Dr. Blue at the health center is my workplace monitor. She'll remain in place for several more years because I'm on contract with MPHP. And I attend Conducive regularly. I go to 12-step recovery meetings. So I think working in a group practice, having a practice monitor, and having a good level of awareness throughout, this journey and going to Acumen, I think it's serves the guardrails and the blind spots.
Doctor, just to point back out, you did mention you intend to continue using chaperone.
Oh, yeah, yes,
Right.
yeah.
So that guardrail will be in
Right,
place.
that's right.
Which has to not be a written requirement.
Not much is really gonna change. Look at, in fact, I was asked to do a breast exam for a mammogram. It was a public service mammogram, meter breast exam, and it just happened the other day, just the other day. But other than that, that's the only, and I didn't do it, I referred to Joanne, but that's the only incident that occurred in the past 2.5 years of working.
So, Dr. Trinka, you said a couple of things. One that you recognize now that the importance of things like chaperones and also like the importance of protection, but you do realize that the restrictions that were placed on you were placed because there was a concern about protecting the people that you were seeing. Like those things were put in place in order to protect the people who were under your care. Like, do you at least understand that it wasn't just because the board felt like doing it, but the whole purpose of that was to ultimately protect people because there had been behaviors and circumstances and situations that led us to question the safety of people in those circumstances, because you've worked in a lot of clinical situations and you've been in situations where you have had access to what people consider vulnerable populations. When you got OBGYN background training, pregnant people, vulnerable populations, even in the prison system, vulnerable populations. And I think when you consider being an individual who is given the opportunity to practice on people who are determined to already be vulnerable, then the bar doesn't go down for you. It actually goes up. And so when you said that, like, we've not, for a long time in our field, in OBGYN, chaperones have kind of been the standard. That's not new. So I just want to make sure that when we're thinking about, because I think sometimes when it's been a long history, sometimes we forget like kind of how we first got here, because there have been certain steps that have made, and you've made progress. I'm definitely not trying to minimize what you have accomplished. But the other piece is that, you know, to step back into that space and to have access to vulnerable people, it's like it really requires even more, I think, than just kind of the bare minimum. And I think sometimes it's helpful just to remember kind of like how it all started, as you're thinking about stepping back into that space. So that was just, as I was listening to you speak, I didn't really hear that connection per se. But I did think that that's something that is important for us all to remember when we have the honor of being able to take care of patients. Any other questions from the board?
Mr. Chapman, do you have any follow-up questions we want based off of the board's question?
I don't think I do, no. I mean, you have to say you would intend to continue with chaperones, so yes, always, yes. Other than that, no, I do not.
Attending the witness at this time?
I'll entertain a motion to consider to go into executive session.
That's me. I get to entertain a motion to make it.
I'm sorry.
Flashback.
Madam President.
Flashback.
Sorry. came out.
I know, I got it. Sorry.
Madam President, may I make a motion?
Absolutely, please, by all means.
Please. Consider to go into executive session about this matter.
All right, so there's a motion to close the meeting and to consider whether going to executive session. Is there a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And any abstentions? All right. Thanks. executive session, and Dr. Kennard will share the board's decision.
Dr. Trinka, the board has voted to remove your license restrictions.
Well, good luck to you. All right. Philip, good to see you again.
Good morning, how are you?
Feel all right, good luck.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
All right. All right. So, next item on our agenda, item number 17 is May board meeting dates. So right now it's tentatively scheduled for May 15th and May 16th. I'm not here.
You're not here.
I am not. I am out of town. But that conflicts with ACOG's annual meeting. The ACM is that week, so I'm out. So. But it looks like I might be the only one. Are you in the country, Dr. Gibbons? Just checking.
Why do you point me out like that?
Just checking.
A week plus or minus.
Just checking. Yeah. It looks like it works for everybody else. He's already practicing. He's already practicing today. Yeah, so I will not be here, but it looks like it's gonna work for everybody else. So be it. That's okay. All right.
Well, we need all board members here if possible, so but I would recommend that we would either +1 or -1.
+1 is gonna be the 22nd and the 23rd. Well, yeah, +1, and -1 is would be the 8th and the 9th, which is leading up to like Mother's Day. And graduations all over. But it's still in the middle of the week, so. Yeah, CME and the SAN starts at the end of that week. Of the week of the 22nd. Eight, 9. All right. Take that off my calendar. All right, 8 and 9, then. Hmm?
8, 9.
Are you in the country then? Okay, just check. So is that what we're gonna go with? The 8th and the 9th? All right.
You,
It's not for me. I was good with going on the 15th and 16th. Yeah. All right. So we'll do the 8th. We'll plan 8th and the 9th. Do you think it's gonna run to the 10th or? I know we had talked about that before. Dr. Cleveland. No, or yes, you think?
I'm sorry, what were you asking? I don't think it'll be 3 days, but it may be a full 2 days.
Okay,
I mean,
all right,
and I give up on predicting these things. I mean,
understood.
but if it plays out like the crystal ball looks like it's gonna play out, it'll be a full 2 days.
Okay,
8, 9.
8, 9. All right. So we'll go with the 8th and 9th. Is that okay for everybody? All right. But if Dr. McClendon wants to relive this past role, he can definitely.
Just snatch that away.
he can. All right, so we'll go with 8th and 9th and. All righty. Well, thank you. Anything else? Anybody? Paul, you got anything else? All right, awesome. Well, hearing nothing, then this meeting is adjourned. Oh, and lunch is